So newsletters are professional writing genres that highlight new information to the audience. So let's go ahead and go over the newsletter project guidelines in more detail. Again, check your syllabus for the specific points that this project is worth, as well as the due date, because I don't want to make my lectures too specific so that other classes don't get confused. So double check your syllabus. These guidelines on your own page to download will have the due date and the points assigned. So newsletters, you may have heard this term before. You can hear it through various mediums. For example, a lot of the times if you online shop and you get an email of your receipt, or when you're at checkout for online shopping, you have an option to select a box to sign up for that company's newsletter. So that's one example where I hear newsletters a lot, even though I try not to online shop a lot, but that's where I hear the term the most. So let's talk about different types of newsletters. Doesn't mean your project has to be related to online shopping, by the way. So whether you've come across the term newsletter or not, they represent business and professional writing excellently because they summarize information in a clear and concise way, because this unit of our class throughout the semester, but this unit specifically focuses on clear, concise, shortened writing. So newsletters are great practice with that. So your topic is open topic for this newsletter project. You will design a newsletter on any topic you want. It doesn't have to be a topic you've already used, but it can be if you'd like. So we're going to go over the PowerPoint in this lecture as well, but on your own time, make sure you download these assignment guidelines that I'm going over, and make sure you download that PowerPoint as well, just to make sure you're clear. While you're working on it too, it's nice to refer to. So these are the requirements. So this is what my grading rubric on the next page. I'm not going to go over the grading rubric on this lecture. So when you download this assignment guideline file, make sure go to page 2 and you get a breakdown in full detail of the newsletter grading rubric. But it consists of all this. So what is your purpose? Your purpose is a good starting point to the rhetorical situation in general, let alone with this project specifically. So what is your purpose? Knowing what your topic is a good first step to open up who your audience might be. But before you even think about audience, are you trying to inform your audience about something going on with your organization? Are you trying to persuade, or maybe both? So it just depends on what your purpose is. So therefore, who is your audience? Is your primary audience the organization you're representing, meaning other coworkers or higher ups? That could be one audience. It could be clients, customers, visitors to your organization, or all the above. So helping you get a clear start on audience is a good way to come up with ideas for what you want your newsletter to include. So whoever your audience is, deciding that first is a good step because your writing is dictated to them. This entire newsletter should be written in your own words. We aren't using sources. For example, you're not using in-text citations with this project. It's a business genre still, so you don't need to have in-text citations. It's your own writing. You're placing yourself again in that rhetorical situation and pretending that you're representing an organization or whoever you want to represent, and you are writing to your audience. It just depends on what your topic is, so we'll go over that in a little bit more detail. You do need sources. I'm calling them sources, but again, this isn't an APA paper. You don't need in-text citations. You're using sources in a different way for this project. So you need at least 3 different sources. Sources can be published articles, websites, videos, etc. Anything to serve as what I'm calling for this is interactive links for your audience to learn more while they read through your newsletter. So you're using sources still not to look like a research essay you don't need in-text citations, but more just as interactive links for your audience to click and find out more about what you're talking about. So at least 3 different interactive links. I'm calling them sources, but it's interactive links. Place the links within the newsletter, not the end, so that it's a little more interactive. And again, we'll go over that in a little bit. Now think about media and design for this. Look at how, take a look at how, or think about how these assignment guidelines look. They look a little different than standard assignment guidelines. They have 2 columns, so I use the 2-column format just to kind of give you a hint that you want to be a little creative with design for this newsletter. Maybe definitely try columns to break up your information, and columns look like this on a Word document. Use of columns to break up text, or just some kind of modern approach to designing the document. I'll have some student samples of this project from students of mine in the past, and also just modern newsletters in general that weren't for the class that you see in real life situations, just to kind of give you ideas for design again as well. Break up your newsletter by at least 3 different categories. So with each category, you should have a section heading to guide the reader along. Remember that section headings are like this. Topic, that's one heading. Requirements is another section heading. And then maybe this one would be a third, media design. So whatever your section headings are, make sure you have at least 3 different section headings, 3 different categories related to your topic with section headings for each new category. Have at least 3 images. This newsletters are still print-based, they're still text-based, but they also have a little bit more images than, think about your other project, the marketing analysis project. That one was more writing. This one kind of is a little bit of both, because this project is a good bridge to the next project that we're going to go over in a few weeks, the brochure, where a brochure is more image-based. So this is kind of a good leading point to that. So at least 3 images. Application of the rhetorical situation, what I mean by that is whoever you're representing, are you designing the document that way with the colors? Are you writing as if you are a professional with the purpose, meaning do you represent the organization? Are you writing as if you represent the organization, so that it doesn't sound like a class project? That's you placing yourself in that rhetorical situation so that your purpose is clear. Is your purpose clear? Are you communicating your topic clearly to the audience? Application of design principles. Again, we're really thinking about design more and more in this class. So utilizing the design principles, if you forgot what those were, then review that PowerPoint and the lecture that we did a few weeks ago about design, because more and more we're using design in this class. Complete this either on a Word document, or if you're using Google Docs, you can use Google Docs. Don't do a PowerPoint is what I'm asking basically. Any type of design tool that works like a Word document or Google Docs does. So do not do this on a PowerPoint. It won't be effective. A PowerPoint is more for presentation, so don't use PowerPoint for this. I always say Word document, but some of y'all have been sharing other platforms that you use, so just kind of verify with me, make sure, but I always say Word document as the main one, the primary one. And then make sure you save as a PDF, because Canvas distorts things when you upload it, so when you save it as a PDF, it freezes everything. It needs to be 2 to 3 pages. So you can do more if you want, but don't just do 1 page, 2 to 3 within that range, or more if you want, but you don't really need to go more than 3, because newsletters practice concise writing, so you don't want to lose your audience either. Where you place the images, be wary with design. Is it formatted? Is it aligned evenly? Is it not to clutter the information? Just really think about design where you place the images. If you need help with that technical stuff with images, how to move them, there's a really easy way to do it on Word, and I can show you if you need me to. Just hop into office hours and let me know. And then the next page is the grading rubric. So I won't go over it in this lecture, but make sure while you're working on the project that you review this grading rubric, and it's basically all of these requirements in the form of the points that it's worth, and your file, when you download it, will have when this is due and how many points it's worth. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to bring up the lecture on the newsletter so you can kind of get more insight on what it is and what should be included. Okay, so let's talk about the newsletter in a little more detail. So when you're working on the project, make sure that you have this presentation in front of you just to clarify. So first you want to think what your purpose is. Your purpose, you ask yourself, who will you represent in this project? One option that students have with this is to represent an organization, again, any type of organization or business. Another option is yourself. You don't have to represent a specific company, a specific organization if you don't want to. You can be yourself, a freelancer, writing newsletters in this topic if you'd like. So audience, identify who your audience is for this project. For ideas on what to include in the newsletter is a great next step. So if you are representing some type of organization, then one audience could be the customers or clients of your organization. Another option could be just members of your organization only, meaning other coworkers, a boss, bosses and coworkers, anywhere in between. It could be both. It could be for everyone, customers, clients, and members. It just knowing who specifically helps give you ideas on what 3 categories to write about with your newsletter. This last one is a little bit more specific for if you don't want to represent an organization and you'd rather just represent yourself and send a newsletter to people about something. That's directed more towards interest groups related to your topic. So let's take a look at some ideas with this. Let's talk about purpose. Newsletters do the following. They inform the audience about your topic, they persuade the audience, or they do both. Again, just knowing who you're writing to could help with that. So let's think about purpose a little more. You might be stuck on whether or not your purpose is to inform, persuade, or do both, and that's okay. So ask yourself this question: who is my audience? Example, if your audience is just other members of your company, your purpose might be more informative. If one topic a student did in the past was they represented a company and they sent a monthly newsletter about new rules being enforced for the company. That's just informative because it's saying, hey, these are the updates, just so you're aware. I think another category they did was, this is somebody we just hired, so let's greet them and welcome them. That's a little bit more informative. You're not trying to persuade your other coworkers to do anything. You're just informing them on updates in the workplace. So that's one way that it can be informative only. So think about that. Your newsletter needs to have 3 different categories about your topic, 3 different things going on that you need to share with your audience. So you're dividing this newsletter into 3 separate categories that have their own section headings. Section headings are so important with newsletters because it guides the audience to each category so they know what they're reading and what it's about. So think, what's your topic and what are 3 different subtopics you want your audience to know about? So let's think about that a little bit more. Off the top of my head, something you can think about is if you wanted to represent NMSU or DACC, right? If you wanted to represent them and you're writing a newsletter to students, staff, and faculty, because those are the main audiences with the school itself. So it's a wide range of audiences, but it helps you get ideas. So maybe your first category could be upcoming sporting events. What are the upcoming events for the season? Category 2, nominations for faculty and student awards. That's some type of school-related interest that all 3 groups could take an interest in. Category 3, homecoming week events. If it's in the fall especially, there's some homecoming events or any kind of events in whatever season or semester you're thinking about. So that's what I'm getting at is whatever my main topic was a newsletter sent to NMSU students, staff, and faculty. So in order to divide that into 3 categories, this could be 1 category, 2nd category, and 3rd. So that's what you're thinking about as well with whatever type of organization you want to represent. Again, an organization doesn't have to be business. It can be a business, of course, if you're interested in that, but it can be a school, it can be an office setting, it can be somewhere you work right now to get you ideas, somewhere you want to work in the future. You can represent the school as a student, since you are students, whatever you think, whatever interests you have. So I mentioned that you need to have at least 3 different sources, 3 different, what they're actually called for this project are interactive links. So at least 3 different interactive links used within your newsletter. They are outside sources used to further your point in the newsletter categories. If you want to have a link for each category, I'd recommend it that way since you need at least 3 categories. 1 link for each category would be nice. You don't have to. Wherever you place them is up to you, just as long as they're not at the very, very end of the newsletter, because you want to make them interactive. These are outside sources used to further your point in the newsletter categories. Websites for more information, articles about the subject material, or a video on YouTube, especially that video on YouTube. That's a really cool way for interactive links because this is a writing genre, so nothing moves. It's just on a document. So having them refer to a video to demonstrate something clearer is a really cool way to use interactive links. These help eliminate excess information because now you're really thinking about concise writing. You don't want to bog the reader down with paragraphs of information. So these interactive links help eliminate excess information so that the audience can refer to more if they're interested. Use them within the newsletter, again, not at the end. So some example, if you're interested in fitness and maybe one of the categories was about the importance of yoga and the different types of poses out there, maybe a link that refers the audience to how it's demonstrated is a cool way to expand on the information in more detail without having to write that all down. So it keeps them interested as well so that they're not reading bulks and bulks of information. Make sure whenever you use the link, have some kind of transition sentence. And what I mean by that is they know what the link leads to. So this sentence is a transition sentence. Follow this link on YouTube to watch this yoga pose being described. And then right here would be the link to the video. You want to make sure you have some kind of transition to it so that they know what they're clicking. And that way, they don't have to click it if they don't want to. A lot of business professional writing is you're thinking about the audience and you don't want to waste time. So having this transition word or sentence helps them save time. If they're not interested, they'll just keep moving on and reading. If they're interested, they'll pause and click the link. So you have to think about that. So more examples of interactive links if we're thinking about that topic that I first mentioned, NMSU newsletter. So maybe if category 1 I mentioned was about upcoming sporting events, including a link of the football team's past wins and losses helps the audience learn more and saves you time for writing all that more information that's not needed. You're just kind of summarizing. Newsletters summarize information more. If your second category was nominations, a link to the faculty page for the audience to learn who the faculty is in more detail. That way you don't have to write all the hundreds of faculty members' names and information on your own. The link takes care of that. Homecoming events, a video of a past homecoming event, maybe, something like that. So that's just what I'm getting at with how to use interactive links. Entirely up to you. It's just a way to further the information that you've summarized. Don't forget to include at least 3 images. Use them within the report, not at the end. If you need help placing images on Word, it can be tricky. There's a real quick fix to that, so I can help you with that as well. But think about design when you place them somewhere. Make sure the text wraps around the image and everything's aligned, and that you're utilizing white space as well so that information isn't too crowded either. I apologize if this Prezi, I hope this doesn't cause motion sickness. I don't use Prezi a lot, but I think it's kind of fun with the newsletter just to use a Prezi for something different. I tend to get a little queasy when I try this out. So think about design again. I mentioned the column design. That's a traditional newsletter because it looks like a newspaper. I like the column design for this project. I think it's fun because you can still make it modern with those interactive links and with your images. But this is an example of a 2-column design because it's column 1, column 2. But there's also on Word you can do the 3-column design. I really like this one because it has images here and then the text here and then each category 1, 2, and 3, and whoever you represent, even if it's you, give yourself some kind of title that could be up here. And then this really uses design well because it's got the consistency with the headings, the same size and style, the subtext, same size and style, and then the image is aligned evenly with the text. It's a really clean layout. And you can even do that with the 2nd column design as well, which is nice. So think about design. Again, look at the samples. I'll put some really modern ones too, so you can have a little fun with it if you don't want to do that traditional newspaper format. But that's what you're thinking about for the newsletter project. So if y'all have any questions, let me know.